I'm blaming my flu. For any mistakes I make, I'm blaming the flu. I'm sweating, I'm hot, I'm a bit delirious. So, Wayman's gonna give me a little bit of a break on this one. Okay, so we've mounted the camera onto the tripod. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the lens on. So with this, on the FS7, there's a locking mechanism here to release. So you pull it up here and then you turn it. But you've got to obviously make sure that you don't keep the lens, the sensor exposed too long. Right, so I've got the lens mounted, and then what I'm going to do is, is this attached? Oh yeah, it's already attached. I'm just going to take this out quickly, just for a moment, just get that out of the way. So that's the cable that's connecting to the viewfinder. So just disconnected it just to move this out of the way so we can get this arm up, like so. I'm sweating. It's not because I'm nervous, it's because I'm suffering from the flu. Okay. ATOMOS Ninja. The external monitor. Got to screw it on. There's no better way of doing this, just got to make sure that that's on tight. Okay, so we've got additional monitor there. Okay, so this is battery can be take for the ATOMOS. Slides on nicely like that. Again, make sure that this is plugged in. So it's got a little, this wire connects from the viewfinder here, which you can obviously look through, to the camera where it says VF. So got that. Just gonna attach this cable to the SDI2 slot. SDI2 slot is where you're able to see the data on the monitor. SDI1 just gives you a clean output. So we'll just put that in now. Twist. Okay, battery slots on. Push it in, push down, you hear the click, so you know it's secure. Okay, we're going to just open this up so we can see the viewfinder here, as well as the monitor. If you come round, I will show you some of the operations. So there's an off button, the power button's here, so just switch it on, light comes on, and the camera will power up. Okay, right, so you're seeing the data on the screen here. Let's switch on the monitor. God, I forgot how to do that. There you go. Monitor is now on as well, as you can see. Right, okay. So if I take the lens cap off, just kept that on just because of protection, obviously. It's got double protection. 1, 2. Okay. Right. So camera's set up. The data on here is just, it's not changing anything in the camera. It's mainly for the monitor itself. So you can see like your zebras, you know, if you're overexposed. That's for focus as well. So you can see all these different other features which I've forgotten already. already. So you got your basic dials here. If I press the menu, then we can see the different settings for the camera. So the user settings are here. From user, you can see this is the white balance. So obviously you want to set your white balance manually by the Kelvin. We're indoors now. Tungsten light. Probably set that to around 32. So here's your white balance. Go back to the menu. Got your country, obviously if you're in the US it's NTS. We're in PAL region, so we set to PAL. Recording format. Right, so with recording format, so we show it 4K, so that's 3840 by 2160 at 25 frames. Obviously if you want to shoot B-roll, you might shoot that at 50 frames, you know, slow it down, some slow motion, etc. We'll just keep it at the 25 frames. So we're doing the sit down interview, that's what we'd keep it at. Now the codec is an important detail here, where we want to set it to this XAVCL. If you set it to XAVCI, it's a better quality, but it eats up the cards a lot more. So you want to keep it at this because it gives you a kind of a mix between the quality, but also saves on the data space for the cards as well. So that's an important point to note. We got the slow motion, S and O motion. This is a quick, there's a button here. Yeah, so this button's like a quick kind of go between 50 frames and 25. Okay, so we've got that. To set the ISO, you go to camera, the settings. As you can see here on the ATOMOS, it's a bit more clearer. Select that, and you got your ISO gain EI? Not sure what that means.
EI? It's exposure index, but
okay.
You don't really need to worry about that for the moment.
Okay.
We're not in a setting that enables you to use it, so it's fine. But that's showing you your lowest, medium and highest ISO which you set here.
You can toggle between your low, medium and high settings here. With this little switch here. Wasn't this camera always set to, was it 2000 ISO? Yeah, because with the with the Sony cameras, with the FS7, well, the Sony cameras particularly, I'm not sure if it's particularly the FS7 or the Sony cameras, they work better overexposed because they don't work as well with the shadows. But the highlights they work better with, so it automatically is always trying to overexpose or work for higher exposure. So that would be set to 2000.
That's kind of right. I think George can explain it better than I can.
Okay.
But yeah, that's almost right.
Okay.
But that's just what I've told you, so.
Okay. So it's right.
Yeah.
If William told me, it's right. Okay. So so would you change the ISO? You wouldn't need to change the ISO if it's always set to that then?
Yes, because this is where it gets a bit more complicated. So if you let's say it's always shooting at 2000 and you're in like a dark scene, for example.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You would put the ISO a bit higher.
Yeah.
So that you're adjusting the rest of your settings properly.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Even though it's always shooting at 2000.
Right. Okay.
But that one needs a bit more explanation. But there's videos online that you can watch it, which helps to understand it, which are really helpful.
Okay.
Like official Sony ones.
Okay, I'll check those out. Okay, so that's the ISO. So you get to the ISO. What was the other one we're looking at? Shutter speed. Right. So for the shutter speed, we go down to shutter, and obviously you want the shutter speed to be double the frame rate. We're shooting at 25 frames per second right now, doing a sit-down interview. So we're going to have the shutter speed at 1/150th. So that's what it's at right now, so we'll keep it at that. So we'll move back down to the rest of the settings. Just saw ND. This camera has a built-in ND filter, has 9 stops of ND. So obviously this is on clear. If you twist it, then that's the first, and then you can see obviously it's added a stop of ND filter to the camera or to the image. So that's really handy to have. You know, obviously if you're shooting in bright settings, then you need a good ND filter. Keep that shallow depth of field. Right.
How do you change your aperture and your zoom and your focus?
The aperture, zoom and focus is on the lens. You got your T-stop. So it's similar to if you're used to shooting on DSLRs, you got your f-stop. But these are more, they're in smaller increments.
Yes, they're just more precise.
More precise.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. More. They're more precise. So than the f-stop. So that's where you would do that here. I'm blaming my flu for any mistakes I make. I'm blaming the flu. I'm sweating. I'm hot. I'm a bit delirious. So Wayman's gonna give me a little bit of a break on this one. But yeah, so that's your zoom lens. This is an 18-55 focal length. So you change that here. So this is for obviously your focus. So as you look, if you come and look at the screen right now, you'll see what's in focus with those little red lines. So that's what's telling you what's in focus. So if I zoom that out now, that's a bit soft. You can see that if I wanted to get that window panel in focus, then I'll just twist the zoom, the focus wheel until that turns red. So that will tell you. So that's what these.
I think that about covers it.
Is that everything?
Mm-hmm.
How about audio?
So, this is your basic radio mic. This receiver goes into the XLR channel 1 on the camera. Turn it on by holding down the red button. And you'll notice that this little red light comes on when you turned it on. So then this is your receiver on the camera. So put that into input 1. And then this you place discreetly or hidden on your interviewee. So the headphone jack just plugs into the top there. You turn it on again by holding down the red button on the side. And then if you hit pair, it should go green. And you'll notice that the light on here has gone green, which means it's transmitting signal to the receiver.
Okay.
So you usually hide this either inside someone's like jacket or whatever, or if you can't hide it and it has to be seen, then you just want to make it as discreet as it can be. So no cables whatsoever should be on show. You should be able to see any cables on camera basically.
Okay.
So it's just the mic that you want to be looking at.
Okay.
And if we go back to menu, now you'll see that on channel 1, which is where our mic is plugged into, you can see the audio levels bouncing there.
Nice.
While I'm talking. Yeah.
Okay. So how about for monitoring the audio? Is there a...
Yeah, for monitoring the audio, you've got a headphone jack right here.
Headphone jack, right.
Yeah. And then, so you can hear, how it's sounding. And then you can make sort of general adjustments here, which is just basically input volume for channel 1 and channel 2. If you want to make more fine-tune adjustments, or you want to change the audio format or setup or whatever, you just go through the menu. So you would go menu, audio input, and then you can change here whatever you want to change.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's pretty straightforward.
Also, in terms of recording levels, like what do you want those levels to be?
Yeah, so obviously you usually want to record it as high as it possibly can be, but you don't want to record it so high that it peaks. So you usually aim to kind of have it 3/4, like at its highest, bouncing about 3/4 of the way up, which is about -6 dB. Because then if there's like a sudden like like really loud change in voice, then it doesn't hit it too much.
Right.
But you basically your sound is ruined if you see that red bar at the top hitting. You see that? So you basically don't want it to be hitting. But let's say the mic is here. That's probably a bit too loud, to be honest. We can turn that one down a little bit. So we'll just turn it down a touch. So this is me speaking at a normal volume, and even if I go a little bit louder, we're still not peaking too much. But usually people don't speak like that. So it's more just for like, if someone starts the beginning of the sentence a bit more emphatically, you're not like hitting
the peaks. Yeah. Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, so that's what Mr. Wayman's taught me so far, and I'm very grateful, and yeah, I look forward to using this camera. Thank you. And I think that does it for the FS7 tutorial. Mr. Wayman, Mr. Regis. Peace.